Right. Hi, James. How are you? I apologize for that.
Doing well.
That was all not live because
Well, they don't know it, so don't tell them.
well, okay. Yeah.
Hey,
How are you?
welcome to the show. Pugs' voice is a little scratchy because we hung out Saturday
Yeah.
late in a couple of loud bars, and there was some screaming involved.
Well, just I speak incorrectly anyway. I have a very fragile voice because of the way that I speak. Other people apparently learn to speak properly. And it's why my voice sounds the way it does. I'm a throat talker. I don't speak from the diaphragm, never have, never learned how to speak that way. I speak from up in here. So when I'm out and I have to yell loud for a period of time, it goes away. It just it all gets just rubbed right away. And now it sounds like super breathy like this. At its worst, James, it sounds like this. Like at its worst. This is what it sounds like, a Muppet, like Grover or something. But yeah, it gets down to this. It's coming back a little bit. I mean, even on my best days, I have a very strange voice, but it's coming back. All right. What were we talking about? Were we talking about anything before I realized that we hadn't signed on yet officially?
Yeah, your kid was giving you grief for your Chipotle order again.
Yeah. I didn't say anything all day. I didn't do the noon show. I decided I was just going to keep quiet and drink tea. That's what I did. I had like 6 cups of hot tea all day. Hot tea on a 100-degree Texas August afternoon. That's nice. And then the only thing I said was I spoke to Ed and I said, I'm going to Chipotle. You want anything? And that got us talking about how my kid says I'm the worst burrito orderer on the planet. But James, I had an altogether different incident today at Chipotle. You know what happened today at Chipotle?
No.
I felt rushed. I felt like I blew it, man. I felt there was way too much pressure on me. I ordered something that I typically don't get, so I wasn't sure how the process was. And it was right at dinner time, so there was like 10 people behind me and like 10 people in front of me. And the Chipotle workers were going so fast. Have you ever been there at like peak hours where they're just like bam, 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 bam? And she's yelling things at me. She's like, do you want that? And I couldn't understand her. And I'm like, what? And then she's like, and I'm like, yes, right. So she just started throwing stuff on there. I didn't know what it was. I panicked. I didn't want to be the slow guy holding up the line. So I got some pretty subpar tacos because of it. But other than that, the burrito was good.
Weren't you telling me at your last trip to Chipotle you had a rookie there who failed on the fold over?
Terrible.
And that's got to be the most humiliating experience for a Chipotle burrito artist, is failing the fold over.
Yeah, they had to go to the bullpen. They had to bring a kid in from the back. He came in and remade my burrito because this kid couldn't do it. He failed. He put too much. He didn't. Poor placement. He had too much in one area, and he went to fold it, and the tortilla broke. Oh, it was terrible, James. Hey, James,
try to pull the signs in.
Do you have a monologue today? You want to
I do not have one. No.
You don't need to do a monologue. Do we need to do a monologue? This show should just be golden moments of our conversations.
Well, I should have more free time during the day to slap together some jokes. The real problem.
All right. Anything on your mind? Anything you want to bring to the table today? Because I got a couple of things we can throw out.
All right. So I'm in this weird era where my dad he's 70, but he's an old 70. He's had like baker's dozen heart attacks or whatever. And it's funny because, when your dad, if you have a dad who goes through this for like 10 years, of heart attacks and health problems, the first heart attack or the first stroke or the first real sign of problems, I don't know if he got diagnosed with cancer or whatever, you feel so concerned because you're
scary
like,
as fuck. Yeah, right. Yeah. Because you don't know. It's your first time down this path.
Well, and it's also like, oh my God, what if he had died? There's so much, I left unsaid, and I didn't just make sure it'd be nice if I had like a conversation so he knows that I thought he was a good dad. And, just you got to have these final conversations, right? And so the next time you get your dad alone, because I was living in a different state, first time I get him alone, I'm like, hey, can we talk? And he's like, yeah. And he was kind of feeling the same thing. Like, oh man, what if I had died? I didn't have, there's some things I want to say to my boy because I'm his only son, and I've got a sister and he's had some things he wanted to tell her too. But, father son is, like the only personal, intimate relationship we're allowed to have without being called a fag. But,
well, by some people, yes.
Well, my friends. Right?
There are those of us who are fine with men having emotional commitments and relationships.
I know. Regular, healthy people are okay.
Regular, healthy. Yeah.
All right. So It was great. We got to have that conversation, and he got to tell me things about his dad that he didn't really like, and uh, you know, advice for the future, which wasn't really profound or great, but at least I knew it was on his mind. It's my dad's, not Marcus Aurelius over here. And so then my dad had his second round of like heart problems where he's having like an irregular heartbeat, and they put him in the hospital, and he had to be there for a few days, and they had to like burn off some of the nerve endings in his heart. And
Oh
so
no.
yeah, and so then the next time I'd come around for his like either Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever it was, we have this conversation again, like, that was pretty close, but I thought of something else, to do about. Well, now that he's done this, we're out of final conversations, right? And so like sometimes like he had a health issue a couple weeks ago where he had to go in and they had to like actually burn off some nerve endings in his heart, but that's all right. That's like the fourth time this has happened. So, I'm not as nervous this time around.
Yeah,
But
in
when
the
it comes
beginning, you got the call the first time, and you're like, "Oh my god, okay, I'll be right there. What hospital is he in? Who needs what? Do I need to do this? Do I need to? I'll be right there. Say no more." That's the first one. Now it's like they call you, and you're like, okay, scale of 1 to 10. What are we talking about this time?
well,
Right?
because the
You
question
got
is,
like
and I know this
scale.
this sounds like it
It's just a
this is gonna
9.
sound this is gonna sound worse than reality, but now when he goes to the hospital, I say, how bad is it? Do I really need to go up there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Because
13
you
trips to the hospital. We need to start whittling this down.
so on trip one, which was a while back now, I imagine, you got all of that stuff out. You said some things that made you probably feel more vulnerable in front of your father than you've ever felt in your life, and he probably felt the same way. And you had that magical moment and that connection. And then you know what? He lived another year or two. Like he's still around, and you've already had that great moment. How long can that sustain itself without it just being awkward and you guys going? So what's up?
Well,
What's
there's
going
an
on with your
overcorrection
day?
thing happening here too, because when his dad died,
Okay.
their final words in face to face, were spoken in anger. They got an argument about something stupid, and then they would do this thing where my grandfather was in World War II and my dad was in Vietnam, and somehow it would always turn into that somehow.
Oh, geez.
And I know, without getting too insulting to my family tree here, it all seemed really dumb from my point of view. But when my grandfather died, my dad like went into a depression because his final words to his dad were in anger, and the final words from his dad to him were not very nice either. And without remembering the specifics, my dad remembers the specifics that he's told me before, and it's pretty brutal final conversation to have with your dad. Now in
Jeez.
this in this last one, where he went in for the heart ablation, when he comes out of it, he wasn't feeling too good. He didn't come out of the house for like a week, but now he's doing better. And when I saw him like last week and he was finally doing better, it kind of pulled me to the side and he was like, "Hey, so you got anything you want to say?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're a good dad. I love you. I was a great son. You're proud of me. Yada yada yada. Okay, let's go get some chicken. All right." Like we're down to that. I have my relationship pinned up, buttoned up with my dad so well for the rest of my life. Like I'm not gonna need therapy. That's for
Well,
damn
he could
sure.
die tonight for all you care. I mean, you've done all of the emotional stuff. You got it out of the way.
Right. So it's cool though, because while of course it'll be a tragedy, and anytime someone loses like their father, whether or not they had a good relationship with them or not, I'll contemplate my own mortality or whatever. But I don't have this horrible thing hanging over my head about there's some things left unsaid, or you better have the conversation with your parents while they're still around. It's like, nope, did that, got it,
There you
got
go.
it.
Out of the way.
Not a problem. But it's just funny how for some people this is like the one small detail in their life that just wrecks them emotionally for decades to come. And for me, not only do I have it pinned down, I'm sick of pinning this down. Got it. I love you. You love me. Got it. You're a good dad. I'm a good son. Got it. Yeah. So I thought that was just fun to share.
My last moment with my father was when I was a baby. So I'm pretty sure it went well. Pretty much
Hmm.
all interactions with babies when you're a grown, like he was probably leaving for, well, it was probably the last time he saw me. He was leaving for work. He was killed. He was leaving for work. Probably picked me up, gave me, it was probably nice. So there you go. We kind of, there's no way
Oh,
to,
yeah, or he was probably like,
no,
"Oh, Mary, will you change
I
him?
don't,
It's number two."
I can say this though about my own relationship with my son. Um, I sometimes wonder if other fathers and sons, especially when the kid gets to be 13 and 14 years old, we are very well. I'll ask you this: you've got a 12-year-old son. Are you huggy and kissy with your son Rex?
He's gonna turn 12 in like 3 weeks, and yeah, we're still huggy, not so much kissy, but we're definitely huggy.
Yeah, I mean, my kid's 13 and we're very huggy and we're very kissy. And there is like no let up in it inside. Like there is no hesitation. And usually it would be him, the kid who's growing up, who's gonna start to recoil from this. No, no, I mean we're very close. I mean I'm very happy about that. And that's because we were not very close physically for a period of time. In the time that we were together, we sort of tried to turn it into a concentrate where
Hmm.
we were hyper, close, told each other everything. I don't know. We're pretty good. I mean, I see Emil and his son Dom are also pretty close, but I wonder sometimes because my kid is 13 and he'll run up and give me a big hug in public. And he's not like a 13-year-old boy. Well, you've
No, but
seen
that's no,
he's
it's healthy. It's
he's a
healthy.
boy's boy. This isn't in any way like, he's
Right, right.
swishy or
But
overly emotional. He's a big meathead and he'll just give me a big hug.
I have no formal training in this, but I have watched a lot of Dr. Phil and listened to a lot of Dr. Drew.
That's all you
But
need. That's all you
there's a
need.
natural handoff when the child's affections stay with the parent, stay with the parent, stay with the parent, stay with the parent until they discover the opposite sex. And when he starts hugging girls, that's when he's going to start hugging you less. When he starts kissing girls, that's when it's going to start to fade from you. And that's kind of what's been built into human biology. You are most affectionate with your parent until it's time to find the person your age that you're supposed to be affectionate with.
I'm pretty sure he's already kissing girls. He's been kissing girls for a couple of years now. he's, he's
Okay.
got, he's,
Well,
so
then the
I
phase
don't
out
know.
begins
We'll
immediately.
see. We'll see.
And see, here's
What
my concern. No. This comment over here, and this is why I wanted to have the conversation. Partially, if you scroll up, Jeff said, "Parker, once he is gone," referring to my dad. "Once he is gone, you will think of 100 more things you wish you had said." Well, what is that? Because I want to know. Because we're probably gonna have another one of these conversations in a couple days where he's like, "Anything you want to say?" Nah, dude, I've been out of stuff for like 4 years. So what are these 100 things? Because I've got chances that I could have asked him today. We hung out for a big chunk of the day. We went to the farm and did outdoor farm stuff.
So this is the one.
Yes,
Parker,
that's the one.
once he is really gone, you will think of 100 more things you wish you had said. I don't know, maybe, but I think that it's certainly a guarantee that once he's gone 100 times a day, you might think of him. I don't know if you'll necessarily specifically think of words you could have said, but I could see 100 times a day you're missing him. I'm more interested in this one from the other Jeff here. What's this one? See this one?
Yeah, so I guess that's 2 of 4 kids so far, just on the first one. So, Jeff, are you the only alive, non-disowned child of your parents' four? Which is what I took away with this. Because if that's the case, then they've lost 3 of their 4 children. Losing Jeff would mean they lose all of them. Yeah, they'd probably do the old Romeo and
Yeah.
Juliet mutual suicide thing.
So 4 total kids, 2 of them are dead, and of the 2 that are remaining, one is Jeff and one has already been disowned. I don't. That's an interesting thing. I don't understand that. That seems like something from the Middle Ages. I don't, and I'm not
Do you
making.
not watch Succession? Didn't you see that?
Yeah, again, that's barbaric, though. I mean, I could not imagine any situation where I would disown my child.
That is a very Pollyannish thing. Here's the problem.
No, it's not.
Two,
It's-
two, no. Come on, come on. Let's grow up. Not all kids are going to grow up to be good, and perfect parents can have horrible kids.
that's
Two out
right.
of
But you
every
don't disown them. I mean,
hell
you
you do,
still.
hell yeah you do. Two, listen,
Yeah, no, we
two
disagree on this
two
because
out of every 100 human beings born is a psychopath, not a sociopath, a psychopath. Not only do they not have the mutual human connection that most of us share, they
Mhm,
actively delight or are compelled to cause other people harm.
mhm.
Like they find it amusing. That's how they get off. That not only are they indifferent into it, they seek it out. And so you could do everything right. You can have 10 kids. And if one of them's a psychopath, you're probably going to disown him because he's probably screwing
No,
you over. He's probably screwing his siblings over.
no.
These psychopaths can murder their own brother just
They
like a
sure can.
stranger. Okay,
Mhm.
so what if you have one kid that kills like 5 of your other kids? You're not going to disown him?
Well, that's an extremely specific example of
It
something
is.
that could only be considered an outlier in any kind
It
of
is.
civilized conversation of this nature.
Okay.
So, you're right. Wow, you found an outlier where I might reconsider what I'm
Well, I
saying.
found the other side of the spectrum when you have all your kids are perfect and some of your kids are god awful psychopaths.
Uh,
But there is a lot of gray area in between. I think of a family in my tiny little hometown that grew up. They had 3 boys.
yeah,
One of them was almost valedictorian. He was salutatorian of his class. The younger one was really smart and got high SAT scores, not necessarily great grades. He's kind of like me, didn't do his homework. But the first and last son were really smart, went to college, got degrees, make 6 figures. The one in the middle, prison.
okay.
Same parents, same socioeconomic
Not a
backgrounds.
contest, though. I mean, I got
No,
one
no,
kid. It's not a contest. This one's good. This one's bad. I like this one. I don't like that one. They're all my children. You can convince me till your heart's content. It ain't gonna work because
yeah, but you could take nature versus nurture, and you have almost as many variables as you can be even across these 3 kids, and for no fault of the parents, for no fault of their socioeconomic background or their schooling or the society around him, this one kid was just a jackass who did not learn from his mistakes. He let Tim borrow Jeremy's car one day, and he's in the break room. The coworker like taps him, and he's like, "Is that your car on TV?" And it's a car chase in Dallas. They're down 75. They got the helicopter on them. That one day that was Jeremy, played on the soccer team, by the way.
I can tell you, James, all these examples you're putting out, they don't sound like any son of mine. They don't sound like any child of mine. So I'm not going to worry about even engaging in this, even as an exercise.
Yeah, well,
Because
it's easy to say, well,
my
you should
son is not a
never
psychopath.
disown your
My son is
kid.
not an a-hole. My son
No.
is raised with love and consideration and all of those good little things we put into him. So
Yeah.
in my specific situation, I can say there is nothing my son could do that would have me disown him.
Okay, so April over here said, yeah, I would disown my son if they were a child molester.
Good
Exactly.
for April. I would not. I would
Woo! Okay.
not.
I
I
would.
would I would be heartsick, I would be broken, but
Ooh,
I would
look at
still own
Leslie.
the child.
My
Yeah.
mom's brother was a child molester, so yeah, he was disowned.
I'm seeing all of this. I don't think it's right. I think that, to each his own. And I think that maybe some of you are more capable of producing awful, rotten individuals than I am. Because as I say, no child of mine would ever do anything that would put them in a position where I would have to disown them. That's not even a real thing to me. I don't know what kind of miscreants y'all are raising, but
Dude,
not me, not one of mine.
man, just be lucky because the world isn't rife with stories about people who did everything right and had horrible kids, but they are out there, and
Oh,
it's
how
totally
bad
not
seeds.
fair to these parents who just happen to they're from loving families and everyone in their family, no one has mental illness. All of a sudden, they have a psychopath kid, that's bullying kids and killing stray cats and just
Yeah.
doing all of the telltale signs that
Not my
psychopaths
kid, but
do.
yeah, you're
Woo.
right. Not my kid. Nothing at all like my kid. Stephanie Ann says, I believe that you cannot know every story from your parent and you can wish that they had shared those stories. Here, I'll put it up. Why
What?
not?
Put that on.
Yeah. I believe you cannot know every story from your parents and you can wish that they had shared those stories with you. But you are a very open person, and not everyone is like that. The thing that caught my eye here is knowing every story about your parents. Do you feel like you know? And like I feel I know enough. I don't need. I think I got all the cool stories, that were out there about my mom. Maybe some people's moms don't have cool stories. You know what I mean? But mine did. I don't need to know any more details. You know, you know what I mean. My mom was a single woman in the '70s. She enjoyed discotheques and the lifestyle. So I don't really need to know.
See, my mom was a saint, and the only person she is.
So was mine, you son of a bitch. Doesn't mean that my mom wasn't.
Did your mom sleep with Marvin Gaye?
How is that not a saint? And sleep? I'm not going there, but how explain to me now how that makes her not a saint.
Because my mom has only had sex
If
with
that
one
were in
man,
fact
her
true.
husband, her entire life.
Doesn't make her a saint. That just makes her sexually inexperienced. What
Well,
do
it
you
makes
mean
her
she's a
closer to a
saint?
saint than the woman who's slamming Marvin Gaye.
Why? So
Well,
please
because that's a
explain
level
that.
of
Explain the
promise.
criteria.
That's a level of promiscuity that your mom reached that my mom didn't. So my mom is closer to
Okay,
the
first of all,
saintly
I'm not
ideal.
acknowledging what you're saying is being true. It is a story that is out there, but nobody ever said they slept together. Nobody ever said that. I don't want to put anything out there. We don't even know that the story is necessarily true. It may have just been told as. But I am far more interested in you thinking that somebody who so premarital sex is a bad thing.
Well, morally speaking, yes.
Morally, according, okay, so again, these are your morals that you are now using to
Well,
pass judgment on everybody else. See, I don't think premarital sex is immoral at all. I think sex is love and it's good and it feels good. And, but again, this might be where we have our disconnect because you're
look,
like
make us look. I've
Christian,
got a Dos Equis
evangelical.
here.
Yeah.
The consumption of alcohol is immoral as well. I'm not condemning
Is
anyone.
it? See, it's not. See, this,
It
okay,
is
fine.
immoral.
We won't have this argument, but go
This
ahead.
does not help me become my best person. And there are if I overdo this, there are negative consequences associated with it that
So
destroy
don't
lives
overdo it.
constantly.
So don't
Okay. No,
overdo it.
no, but
Ask your God for the strength to not overdo it. And
but
there, now you're
promiscuity
within
is
moral guidelines.
I know, but promiscuity is similar to where most people can do it and get away with, just like I can drink this beer and get away with it with minimal negative consequences.
I
So I
just
gain a little weight or whatever. Same thing with premarital sex.
I just
But
wouldn't think that somebody as such as yourself, who I know to have engaged in some pretty raucous premarital activities, to
I'm
just
an immoral guy.
be
Yes,
up
I'm
on this
quite
mountaintop
immoral. Yes.
casting aspersions on others.
I'm not casting aspersions,
I don't
just
know.
calling
Mary
something
Magdalene
moral.
was a whore. She was a prostitute. So
Right.
she's a
Hey, so
saint.
I'd probably fit right in with that crowd.
She's a saint, at least in the Catholic Church.
I myself am wildly immoral. My mom is less
All right.
immoral than I am. Okay. But my dad has stories that I don't know because I just learned a new story about my dad this year. One of his friends from high school was like, "Oh man, did we tell you about the time we robbed a liquor store in Mexico?" It's like, whoa, that's kind of a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't know any stories about my dad. I don't know any. I mean, I guess I'd like to have some of those stories, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm fine. I'm fine. I know enough. Like I know enough about my mom. I know my mom's life and all that, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. My kid. I'm pretty much an open book to my kid. I see, but you know me. I talk a lot, so I mean, I've probably told my kid all of my stories during car rides. I ever tell you about the time? And then, I go into this long story about how I'm banned from Graceland or something like that.
oh man, I can't tell
Oh.
my kids this. I can't tell my wife those stories yet. I used to tell my wife, I'll tell her all my stories when I'm 40. And then when I turned 40, I said, make it 50. I'll
So
tell you
you think you've done some things that are so bad that you couldn't tell your wife? Not with me. You've never done anything that bad, have you? Did you do anything that
with
bad? Yeah.
you there? No,
Well,
definitely
no, I
not.
mean as a part of your performances and stuff. My mom, I did not sleep with Marvin Gaye. Turned him down. Oh, there you go. There you go. My mom is on
Hey,
the record there.
you
There
got
you
to put
go.
that one up on the screen, man.
So yes,
That is a
leave my mom
comment
alone.
of the day.
I have been uncomfortable with this rumor for years, and I have been. There you go. I have not, engaged in it, but yes, there you go. Mom was a very
Dude,
attractive woman in the '70s. A lot of men chased her.
don't worry, Mary. We think it's cool as hell that you were in a position to turn him down. That is so cool. I've never turned down a celebrity before.
Oh, she's turned down many, from what I understand. All right. Can I get rid of that again? All right. You got anything else, or you want to move on? You guys see anything else you want to jump in here?
No, let's move on. No. Actually, one story I want to talk about. I don't
Go.
have any level of depth to this, but Nancy Pelosi goes to Taiwan. China says if she goes to Taiwan, we're going to shoot down her plane. And she went to Taiwan anyway. And what they do?
They knew
Nothing.
nothing. They
No.
scrambled a bunch of planes. They're doing drills now that they weren't planning on doing, but yeah, that's about the extent of what they're doing. Saber
Good.
rattling.
Good. Like, well, of course, I'm no fan of Nancy Pelosi whatsoever, but That's within the borders of America. Outside the borders of America, she's an American and she's one of our politicians. And if they want to go to Taiwan, they can freaking go to Taiwan, whether you like it or not. You're not the boss of the Speaker of the House of the United States. I don't care if it's Nancy Pelosi or John Boehner or the Bruce Banner. I shut up. You ain't going to do nothing. And I actually thought it was really cool that even in the face of the open complaints from China, that she went ahead with it anyway. I liked that move. I liked it when Michelle Obama went to Saudi Arabia and some people in the Saudi press complained because she didn't wear the face covering. She didn't wear the proper hijab garments while she was. So what, dude? She can go to Saudi. She doesn't have to wear a headscarf if she doesn't want to. She's the first lady of the United States. She can go there in a string bikini for all I care. And if it offends your delicate sensibilities, too bad. We're Americans, okay? And
So is there? Am I missing? Like, is there some sort of a skew in among the American people about this trip? I thought the problem was just with the Chinese, that the Chinese didn't.
I think the American people, for the most part, agree with me. F China. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't an endorsement of Pelosi. This is I don't remember China. I don't remember asking you a damn thing on whether or not we could go to Taiwan. And that's not your country. I know you like to pretend it is, and I know you get all butthurt if people say
Oh, yeah.
something different in the public sphere, but you do not own Taiwan. And if you're going to run some boats over there, I'm still pretty sure
It's Hong
the
Kong
American Navy
too.
will sink them.
They want it to be Hong Kong too. That's what they're looking at Singapore.
Wow. Yeah. Well, the Hong Kong thing, it was set up to expire in 1997 anyway. You know, they had that stupid British lease, which was a mistake. We shouldn't have ever given that back. We should just held on to it forever. But I still like the stance of, you know, I'm not trying to spark World War III with the most populous country on earth. But if they start floating boats toward Taiwan and the U.S. Navy sinks them, I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything. They're going to start. They're not going to start World War II, World War III over something like this. And it's like that's their move. It's their only move, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I love the
you told
defiance.
us we couldn't go, and we said you don't tell us we don't go, and she went anyway. And now it's your move, and you're not going to start World War III over this.
Yeah, and look, if you have the complaint, like,
Ridiculous.
what business does she have in Taiwan? My answer to that is none. Who cares?
She
Like, you know, maybe
represents the
she just
United
wanted to go
States
shop.
Congress.
Maybe she just wanted to go shopping. You know, maybe she likes their egg rolls. Hell, I don't know, but
Uh-huh.
we can go to Taiwan if we want. So I'm glad she didn't back down. I thought that was very cool.
Well, I do appreciate you doing all the heavy lifting here in the early parts of the show, so that I don't have to talk all that much. But hey, I did want to talk about a couple of things here. Um, you following this Beyonce situation, the new Beyonce album?
It's not doing so well. That's all I saw. I saw a headline. I didn't read into it.
I don't know if it's doing well, but it's like now you can't do it. Someone like Beyonce, oh man, Beyonce, every single thing that she creates from this point forward, because of the way she is, like Queen of the Bay Hive and, you know, the Mistress Woke and like all of this stuff, everything that she says has got to be show on point. Otherwise, her group will turn on her. She says anything that's even remotely. She's had to go back and rewrite some lyrics now because one of her songs, or what is it a lyric off of the song Renaissance? But she's got to hold on. All right.
What? I didn't hear about this.
Oh yeah, she's got to change some hold on. I don't know why this is making me. I don't know. Thanks. Come on. I don't want to sign up for anything. Beyonce has confirmed that she will remove an ableist slur from a song on Renaissance. You know what an ableist slur is? Can
She
you?
calls somebody retarded, right? Is that what happened?
No. Yeah, right. Okay, that's what you would think. Like, and that's
Yeah.
what ableism is, where somebody who isn't somehow touched or facing some kind of mental or physical handicap scoreboards them, right? Okay, and retarded, those kinds of things are typically the ones that you see, or cripple. You know, those are other, you know, ableist slurs that you hear from time to time. This
Mm-hmm.
one is just insane, and I'm certain that see, people like Beyonce to me have created this. You know, she walks around like she presents herself on some kind of a pedestal, like she's some, you know, moral angel, right? Like she's queen of the woke. She's Beyonce. Everybody looks to her. She can do whatever she wants. You know, she did some pretty aggressive. Remember, she did the black militant aggressive thing at the Super Bowl a
Let's
couple of
do a
years
Black
ago.
Panther scene theme show. Yeah.
She like half the stuff she's emulating there has some very anti-white stuff, but okay, it's Beyonce. She can do that if she wants. But here's what she did. Only a few days have passed. And by the way, I love Beyonce. I got no issues with her. I don't, please. Uh, Only a few days have passed now since Beyonce's newest album, and I apologize for my voice. Only a few days have passed since Beyonce's newest album, Renaissance, changed our lives. But the release wasn't completely without controversy, James. The Grammy winner is now facing a backlash over a lyric that contains an ableist slur. The disabled community called out the pop star's song Heated, which includes the lyrics, "Spazzin' on that ass, spaz on that ass."
Spaz is ableist.
She is being sexually vulnerable, sexually provocative, really. And then she's thinking, oh, look how cool I am. Talking about what a dirty, sexy lady I am, how everybody was. Oh, what's that? I offended somebody. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being. It's just, I don't know, it's just funny to me.
Spazzing on that ass. So I guess spaz is supposed to be derogatory for someone who has ADHD or whatever.
No, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, James, in the US, spaz is used as popular slang, meaning go crazy, which is its intent within the lyrics of Beyonce's song Heated. However, James, the word, while generally used to mean the latter domestically, is an ableist insult in the UK and in other countries, including to some people in the US, since it refers to the medical condition spastic paralysis. So
Come
this is just
on.
a term in
No.
England that they like. In England they use it as like a really, cruel thing. Here in America it means a slightly different thing. To spaz out means, go crazy on something, at least according to Merriam-Webster's. In the UK it is a term that is used as, oh, look at that spaz. But so she's
Okay,
she's
so there.
changing it. She's changing
Here's
it.
what comes to mind. Here's what comes to mind because I remember this because I keep track of like the way the language evolves. You and I are both really interested in the way word usage
Oh,
evolves here.
etymologies are fascinating to me. Yeah.
Right, right. So it used to be called you were moronic if you were a little slow, if you were like an 85 IQ, or you were just moronic,
Yeah.
and then
It
it
is an
got mean.
official designation on the intelligence scale.
Yeah, and
Moronic.
so then the insult moron was derived from that. And so then they were like, well, we can't call it moronic anymore. We'll call them mentally retarded. And so then retarded became a slander off of that. And so, you know how they keep changing it. Now it's mentally challenged or special or disabled or what. They keep trying to move the goalpost on this. Well, spaz, the term spaz in the American lexicon that I grew up with, was the substitute word for what we now call ADHD, attention deficit, hyperactive, that whole wheelhouse of guys who just can't sit still and they like to talk and like to talk fast and they're kind of spazzy and they're dweebs. They were called spaz, ADHD, the kids who
Yeah.
needed Ritalin, the kids who needed Adderall. That's what we just generally umbrella called spaz back in the day. Now, there's a skit that came out in like 1991 on Saturday Night Live, Geek, Dweeb, or Spaz. Do you remember this? Mike Meyer was the host, and he had the cool kids in class come and judge one of the outcasts, and they would have to decide, asking him a few questions, if he was a geek, dweeb, or a spaz. And I remember David Spade came out of spaz. Hey guys,
Yeah.
let's go slide. I'm gonna slip and slide. It'll be sweet. That guy.
Yeah. I mean, 30 years ago, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the use of that word could have changed culturally in 30 years. I always thought of it to mean like spastic, like you can't control your movements, your spastic convulsions or something like that.
Look, Jeff's got it right. Spaz equals hyper.
Um,
That's yeah.
James, back in June, Lizzo released the song Girls, Grrrls, which also contained the word spaz. Lizzo responded to the backlash promptly. Instead of doubling down, Lizzo changed the lyrics to the song and posted a statement on her social media addressing her mistake and subsequent correction.
Was it spazzing on that ass?
Spaz, it was the same word, spaz. It's been brought to my attention. Here's what Lizzo says. It's been brought to my attention that there is a harmful word in my new song, Girls. Lizzo said in a statement, let me make one thing clear. I never want to promote derogatory language. As a fat black woman in America, I've had many hurtful words used against me. So I understand the power words can have, or in my case, unintentionally. As an influential artist, I'm dedicated to being part of the change I've been waiting to see in the world. Okay, good for you. Beyonce hasn't yet debuted the new lyric, but we're guessing it's going to keep us dancing. Oh, that's so wonderful. She bowed to the pressure. And now we're just going to keep on dancing. It bugs me. It bugs me. She's an artist and a creative, and that's the lyric that she chose when she was writing that song. And now she's just changing it.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything's derogatory, but in Truth Hurts, the chorus can be why are men great till they gotta be great. Yeah, we can. No, derogatory language is fine. You're allowed to express negative emotions in a song. Damn it, you're allowed to say you don't like someone, or you're allowed to use a term that is meant to insult someone. What the hell is going on
You're
with
allowed to say
people?
all kinds of provocative things in songs. That's what makes the great ones great. That it's not just, disposable rhyme this word to this word type lyrics. You're supposed to cause a reaction. That's what art does. Art elicits a reaction.
And look, if this thing offends you, do not go back and listen to Easy E albums from the mid
No,
'90s.
no, or any
There's
gangster
there.
rap. Or
I've
my
heard a few
God,
derogatory
I don't
lyrics
get
in
it.
those songs here and there.
Have you ever listened to Ice-T's Body Count? You're telling me that there is a bigger social injustice being perpetrated by Beyonce using the term spaz on that ass than Ice-T in Body Count in 1989? Ah,
Top
come
killer.
on. Now, granted, I know he got into trouble too, but it's ridiculous. 40 years ago, that I guess that does kind of show how we have all changed in what we're outraged by. I can legitimately understand why policemen in the United States would have had a bit of an issue with some of the lyrics in rap songs from the early 90s. I can legitimately understand that. They were very aggressive lyrics, James. I don't know if you remember. The rap community, very aggressive towards policing in the
I
early
can
90s.
recite some of them, yes.
So that to me is kind of legitimate. I may not agree with it. I think that, you got to let artists be artists, but I understand. I can see it. This I don't. God, are you kidding me? Spaz. She's got to go back in the lab with a pen and
Spazzing
a
on that
pad and
ass.
change Spaz now. She's friggin' Beyonce. She should be above this nonsense.
Well, I like how a pop artist is telling the young girls, our daughters of the next generation, that it's cool to have some guy spazzing on your ass. And some people's
Yes.
complaint is like, that is offensive to ADHD people or whatever. No
That's why I think
way. I
it's so
think,
funny.
yeah.
Because it is
That's your problem with the lyric is spaz?
right. I mean,
Spaz?
you can have much larger issues with, oh, she's just a woman taking control of her own sexuality. Okay, that's fine.
Well, I've always
Fine.
look. I especially liked it when I was single. That the it was celebrated that in order for the mating ritual of the single young adult, as you would go into a dark room with loud music and blinky lights and just bang up against each other with your genitals. Like this is how we're doing it now. This is how you meet people. This is what we do. I'm just banging against a stranger, just bouncing on a stranger. No, and now it's being encouraged in songs. And some people's problem with it is spaz.
It's fast.
Wow. That's
Whatever.
wow. That's
I
great,
don't
man.
know. I'm Gen X. I grew up with AIDS. We didn't have clubs where we had slam dancing where we just crashed into one another. All right, so here's another thing I wanted to mention to you. Have you seen why Dane Cook has been trending for the last 24 hours?
We had a Dane Cook reference like 3 shows ago.
Did we? Well, look at
Yeah.
well,
C
if you don't know why he's trending, James, he's still apparently doing just fine. Dane Cook was probably the biggest stand-up comedian in America for I don't know 9 to 18 months, maybe about 10 years ago, and it really doesn't seem. I thought for certain that Dane Cook was going to be the obvious next stand-up comedian to go from stand-up comedy to acting roles. I thought he was a leading man. I thought he was, he could have done what Bradley Cooper did in The Hangover. You know what I mean? He seemed like
Yes, he
he
seemed he seemed just this close to Ryan Reynolds.
yeah,
Like
right?
Ryan Reynolds could probably just go do stand up like Dane Cook does.
Absolutely. But that didn't seem to happen. And I don't know if you're
What
familiar
did
with this.
happen to him? Because you're right. He was the biggest comic for about 5 years, maybe.
He lost all his money. for one thing.
How?
Do you know about this story?
No, I don't. And I'm a Dane Cook
Oh
fan. Not
my
that I think he's a genius or
god.
anything, but I liked
He's
his work.
fun, he's fine. That's puts on a hell of a stand-up show. You know, not everybody's gotta be Carlin, but if you went to a
No, but
Dane
I've
Cook
seen
stand-up
interviews with
show,
him where
you would
he's kind
enjoy
of a
it.
chode. He's kind of a chode in interviews,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
maybe
maybe
I've
not.
just caught him on a bad day. Like Ryan Reynolds can kind of be a chode in interviews.
Oh, I think Ryan Reynolds is fantastic. I mean, right? Honestly, if I was to go gay, you know, I got my Momoa, but if Momoa couldn't show up, I'd take Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds is also just
Well,
all right.
I think if I got famous like Ryan Reynolds, I'd be perceived like him. Like a bunch of people think I'm a dick.
So Leslie in the chat room says his brother, right? Yeah, his brother stole all his money. When Dane Cook was cranking it out, you know, filling up his own. Dane Cook did something very interesting with his stand-up comedy tours. When he became really big, he didn't go to a promoter. He bought and rented himself all of the arenas. Like he would rent Madison Square Garden for the night so that he doesn't have to split any of the ticket sales or anything like that with promoters or ticket. So he made a ridiculous amount of money during those couple of years that he was basically doing football stadiums. He was doing like what Dice did in the 80s, where he was playing massive arenas. And his brother set it all up, his older brother, who was his financial guy. And he realized one day that he had zero money. Dane Cook, zero money on tour, probably on paper looking like he's making about 40, 50 million a year. He's got nothing. His brother took it all. And they were able to trace it back to his brother, and he sued his brother. His brother was brought up on charges, and brother's in jail now for stealing like tens of millions of dollars from him.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that doesn't explain his career. Why isn't he still killing it? Why isn't he busting it up in movies and whatnot?
He went through a lot. He went through a lot. He basically had he had some breakdown issues. He wasn't working. We'll put it that way. He took about 10 years to put his brother behind bars for stealing all of his money. And now it looks like, hey, he's trending because he's back, baby. Dane Cook is back. Why is he you can disown El Gumbo is like disowned brother. Yeah, you can disown brothers. You can disown them. Parents can't disown children. Children can disown parents. Parents can't disown children. That's my entire position. Dane Cook, James, is cooking up some side eyes on social media. Why? Because the 50-year-old told People magazine in an exclusive published Tuesday that he is engaged to his 23-year-old girlfriend, Kelsey Taylor.
Oh, damn it. That breaks the rule. Remember, it's half your age plus
Do the
7.
math. Do the math. What's the
Half
math?
your age plus 7. He can't marry anyone under 32 or it's weird.
Yeah, well, here, we'll pull up the pictures here. He's getting
See,
he's
does
getting
he have
absolutely
kids?
trashed. No, I think
He
he's
should.
I don't think so.
Because look, it's once you have kids, there is like this sort of buoy marker that's set in the water where I look at a girl now, and if a girl is closer in age to my oldest son than me, the thought of doing something sexual with her is nauseating.
She looks like
It's
his daughter.
disgusting.
Look at him.
Of
He looks
course
like
she does, because he's 50, she's 23. Of course
20,
she does.
23, 43, 53, 20. So he's so what is the age difference there? 23, 33, 42.
27 years older. He's 27 years older than her. He was 27 when she fell out of her mom's undercarriage.
Yeah.
That's too
Yeah,
much. Too much.
that's older than that's a big.
Okay, so you saw Jerry Seinfeld do the same thing, though. Remember when Jerry Seinfeld was dating Shoshana or whatever that was 18 and he was 40 something? I don't remember
I
exact
don't think
whatever it is.
was he 40 something or was he late 30s? I don't think that was that long of a. This is big. This is a big age difference here. Let me see if there's any other pictures of the Kusum Tusum.
She is
Oh
cute,
well.
though. I mean, of course.
Well, yeah, man. Look at her. She's beautiful.
You wouldn't marry an ugly 23-year-old, would you?
No, right.
I
You
mean,
know.
so all right,
Yeah.
so I'm
You know,
sure somewhere in this crazy universe, a 50-year-old and a 23-year-old are an actual match of soulmates. But what's the odds that these two are really in love and this is going to make it? I mean, what the
I don't
hell?
know. He can certainly provide. Look, now if he was maybe selling cars, out in the mid cities,
Well, then she's the crazy one.
but he can provide with a pretty exciting lifestyle for a while. So, I mean, it might stick longer than just like a regular civilian marrying somebody with this much of an age difference. I always think that it helps if your lifestyle is not necessarily a typical lifestyle of someone your age, but maybe closer in chaos to that of somebody younger. You know what I mean? She might enjoy this
All
for a
right.
couple of years.
Here's the only argument you can make that I'll be sympathetic on is this the cascade that is actually a pretty common behavior pattern. And number one, Dane Cook for a 50-year-old is probably incredibly immature. And I don't mean that as an insult. For a 45-year-old, I'm incredibly immature. I spent half my day playing with the machete. Me and the kid yesterday, we started 6 different fires with the flint stick.
Wait a second. Let me stop you here. Did you say that you think at 50 Dane Cook is mature or immature?
Immature.
Immature. Okay, I thought you said mature. I was going to say, yeah, he's
No,
probably very immature.
in the fact
He's a
that also
Hollywood celebrity. He's very immature.
well, also in the fact that he's lived sort of the lifestyle where he never really got domesticated. He's still in that party mode. Like, going to a club isn't weird for him. It's kind of weird for you and me.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, okay, he kind of swims in those same circles. Okay, he's kind of in Hollywood that sort of trends younger and he hangs out with younger people and lives sort of the younger mindset. And if he's never been married and had kids before, there's not a domesticating factor there because kids will just change your brain immediately, right? And so if he hasn't gone through that, there's a little bit of an excuse there, but it still violates the formula. And if the formula works, I have to defer to it. And the formula is half of your age plus 7, and he doesn't make that.
When you say, is there also, because I liked what you were heading towards earlier when you said something about she's got to be closer to your age than what, your oldest child?
Than my kids, yeah.
Well, with kids or just oldest child or youngest?
Yeah, my old. Give myself a little more leeway with the youngest.
Well,
No,
what are you doing?
it's the oldest one. So like there's a girl that is 25, and let's just say my wife gets hit by a bus, and I go to a bar, and there's a 25-year-old at the bar, and she's talking me up, and I'm talking her up, and we're kind of getting along, and I find out she's 25. If I do the math, Rex is 11. She's 14 years away from Rex, but she's 20 years away from me. That's freaking gross. Gross. Get away. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
Live your life, bro. I don't think it's that gross, but I can see why others would. I mean, to each their own. Well, people fall in love for crazy reasons.
I tell you, I like the formula. I like half your age plus 7. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a good one.
So yeah, so for me, I'll even round it down. If you want to give me an extra year, I'm 45, so half would be 22. Let's round it down, and then plus 7, 29. Sleeping with anyone less than 29, kind of weird, right? But you look at that number, a 29-year-old is just 16 years away from me, but 18 years away from Rex, and he's about to turn 12, so then he'll only be 17 years apart. Still good. I'm still good. See how good the formula works?
Okay.
All right. This is like a Newtonian level formula that we've got. Let's not mess with it.
Okay, here, I got one more thing here that I wanted to lay on you.
Hang on. Byron's saying 5 years together. He was with her since she was 18. Is that what Byron's saying?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So wait. So this relationship started when he was my age, and he started dating an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
You have to get suspicious when they go as young as you can possibly go without being illegal.
That is, right? That is strange. That is strange.
Right. Was there a 17-year-old? He's like, oh, she's 17. You got an 18-year-old back there?
Here, I want to show you this. Do you remember this? Here, watch this.
I don't trust
9
this
times.
kid any further than I can throw him.
Well, with your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't throw anybody.
Look at her. That's Edie McClure. We love Edie McClure, right?
It's true.
Love her.
What is so dangerous about a character like Ferris Bueller is he gives good kids bad ideas.
Uh-huh.
Last thing I need at this point in my career is 1,500 Ferris Bueller disciples running around these halls. He jeopardizes my ability to effectively govern this student body.
Well, makes you look like an ass is what he does, Ed.
Thank you, Grace. I think you're wrong.
Oh, well, he's very popular, Ed. The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
That is why I have got to catch him this time. To show these kids that the example he sets is a first-class ticket to nowhere.
Oh,
Ooh,
Ed,
Ed.
you sounded like Dirty Harry just then.
Really?
A little sexual attention between Grace and Ed Rooney. All right, so we all know Edie McClure. We all love Edie McClure. We all consider her a borderline national treasure. I mean, from her work with Pee Wee Herman to WKRP in Cincinnati, she was Herb Tarlick's wife. Edie McClure. Who doesn't love Edie McClure? James, are you ready to get angry?
She died?
No, she's worse than
Oh,
that.
okay. Good.
No, it's worse than that, James. Did you not hear me? It's worse than that. Edie McClure is an old lady with dementia, and guess what? Somebody has wiggled his way into her life a la Britney Spears style and is trying to take all of her stuff. And the people who love her are trying to, battle this guy back in court. Oh my God, the Edie McClure story. You want to hear the story? Since we all know who Edie McClure is.
Well, look, so Edie McClure, since I've had kids, has been somebody else. Now she did some voice work like back in the 90s. She was in like The Little Mermaid and Bugs Life and stuff. But she's been she's been
consistently
in
working since the 70s.
right. So she's in the Cars franchise and all those movies. She's in Wreck-It
Mhm.
Ralph. She's in Snorks. She's been in a ton of stuff, and so she has never really gone away. She hasn't been as present in your face because a lot of it
Well,
is the voiceover work for animated films. But that is a voice that I every once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, that's the lady from Ferris Bueller.
she was if you grew up in the 80s and you watched 80s TV, she was on every television show. She was always like
Yes,
the next door neighbor
yes.
or somebody. She was fantastic. She started out, she was on Pee-wee's TV show, Pee Wee Herman's TV show, and then she was on WKRP in Cincinnati in the early 80s as Herb Tarlick. So she was great. She was in
Check it out.
everything. Well,
I'll just pull up the list.
okay.
She was in Small Wonder. I remember her in that. Remember about the robot
Sure.
girl, the
Yep.
Hogan Family,
Oh yeah.
Alice, Mr. Belvedere,
Oh
the
yeah.
Golden Girls,
All of
Roseanne,
there you
Full
go.
House,
Look at it.
Seinfeld, Sabrina the
Doesn't stop.
Teenage Witch, Malcolm in the
going.
Middle, Hannah Montana,
Keeps going.
Portlandia. Yeah.
She's been in everything. She is a borderline national treasure. James, conservators for Edith McClure, filed a protective order against a California man claiming he's finagled his way into her life and has tried to marry her as she battles dementia. The same man is accused of sexually assaulting one of her caregivers. No, I didn't know about this, but apparently, how old is she? Did you have her Wikipedia thing there?
77.
That's not something. 77.
That's not that crazy. That's not old enough to be demented out of your mind like that.
No, typically when you see these kinds of things, it's like, people in their 90s. She must have something.
Bro, her on-screen debut was in Carrie, 1976. Carrie, with Sister Spacek, the Stephen King book.
Yeah,
Carrie.
she was one of the girls. She was one of the high school girls.
Man, that's crazy. That was before I was born. This lady's on movies.
A notice of elder or dependent adult in need of protection filed by McClure's lawyers were granted against Michael Ramos. Mr. Ramos claims to be Miss McClure's longtime friend and was able to ingratiate himself into her life while she was battling dementia. She added that Ramos, who is unemployed, was able to finagle his way into her home, even though he has never paid rent or ever or paid any of the other expenses. He just moved in. This is just like some dude who they're saying she doesn't even know him. She's never even met him before. He just one day showed up, moved in, is claiming that he's like this and started a relationship with her while she was laying in the bed. She doesn't know what's up. She's got dementia. And, he's nice to her. So, holy cow. And now he's saying they're getting married. And people are like, you're not getting married. You're just like a homeless dude who moved into her house.
So here's the thing that concerns me. And of course, I'm a little narcissistic at times. How do I prevent this from happening to me if I become an old demented person?
Be nice to your kids. Just really keep this in the back of your mind. Always remember that your kids are your last line of defense over this kind of thing happening. I don't know that Edie McClure has any kids. That's a sad story. I don't like that story. All right, I'm done. I'm blown out my voice already. Can you? James, anything in closing that you want to
Yeah,
get
a
into?
couple things. Number one, you donate to the show, put it up on the bottom of the screen. Find my work of Florida Stories, the podcast. There's like 108 episodes that are now out. And every listen matters. Every time you share it, it matters even more and makes you a better person and more likely to go to heaven. And so find it, listen to it, pass it around on your social media, and then come back and tell me how awesome it was.
There you go. Florida Stories. That's James's thing. Help him out. Subscribe, like, share. That I'm in the middle of my nice little pitch for him, and what does he do? He just hangs up on me. He just goes away. He doesn't care. All right, folks, I apologize for missing the high noon show today, but as you can hear, my voice is trash. I will be on tomorrow. I'm going to, as soon as I sign off here, I'm not going to say another word until I sign on tomorrow at noon. The noon show comes at you every Monday through Friday, high noon, right here. It's content of topics and current events and headlines, and if it's trending, I talk about it. We try and run through everything everybody is buzzing about. We do that at high noon every day, Monday through Friday, noon till about 2 o'clock, voice permitting. And then we do this, Pillow Talk, every night at 9 o'clock. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. Please donate to the show, as James said. Help us out if you can. It's been a really, really bad couple of months. So any of your help would be appreciated. And that's that with that. All right. Love you all. We will see you soon tomorrow at noon for topics on high noon with me. Bye, everybody. Have a great night. Appreciate you. Guitar, that is all I need. I don't need no 401. I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I'm on a never-ending quest. That's not good for my throat. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.